Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer, and today we're going to read a news article together so you can add a lot of must-know vocabulary, grammar concepts, and improve your pronunciation in a fun and engaging way. Let's get started.
First, I'll read the headline. Justin Trudeau separates from wife Sophie Gregoire. You probably recognize Justin Trudeau. He's the Prime Minister of Canada. Well, he announced that he's separating from his wife. Of course, this is a very difficult time in both of their lives. And although Justin Trudeau is a public figure, he's also a human being. And this is not an easy thing to talk about publicly, and it's not an easy thing to go through. For us, we are going to focus on the very common vocabulary to talk about marriage, separation, divorce. So first, let's talk about separate. First, notice the sentence structure. To separate, separate is the verb. To separate from, this is the preposition, from someone. When you separate from someone, it means you start to live in a different place from your husband or wife. Only people who are married can separate. If you are not married to the person, you can't use the word separate. So you start to live in a different place because the relationship has ended. So when you separate, you initiate ending the relationship. The example in the headline was Justin Trudeau has separated from his wife. Here, I put this in the present perfect because it's a past action. They've already said to each other, I want to separate from you, but the present consequence is now they are separated. They are separated. So the verb is separate, but you can also talk about it as to be separated. We are separated. That describes your current state. So Justin Trudeau has separated from his wife. It's also very common to describe that two people have separated. They've separated. They have separated. You can also simply say they separated in the past simple. They separated. Here, these two examples, the present perfect, the past simple, they are the same meaning. Generally, native speakers will use the present perfect just to show that there's some connection to the present, although the action is a completed past action. Another example, my parents separated when I was 6. My parents separated. And remember, I said, after you separate, you can describe your current state. I am separated. We've been separated for 2 years. So many different ways grammatically you can use this verb. Now, also know that when you're separated, you're still legally married. So Justin Trudeau and his wife are legally married. They're husband and wife. You need to get divorced in order to legally end your marriage. So step 1, generally couples will separate. They'll begin living separate lives. But then step 2, they have to get divorced, which can take many years. Now, don't worry about writing all this down because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. So you can look for the link to download the PDF in the description. Now let's continue with our article. The Trudeaus, notice here they have it in the plural. This is when you want to refer to a family unit. So Mr. Trudeau, Mrs. Trudeau, and perhaps their children could be here as well. Little Trudeau, 1, 2, and 3, because there are 3 kids. Little Trudeaus, all of them together, you can refer to them as the Trudeaus. The Trudeaus. You need to use the article the. So the, and then whatever your last name is, plus S. So the plus last name with an S, and that refers to the whole family. The whole family. The Trudeaus, who have been married for 18 years, and remember, they are still married now. They are separated, but they are also married because they haven't gotten a divorce. Who have been married for 18 years and who have 3 children, have signed a legal separation agreement. So here, notice, a legal agreement, separation, this describes what the agreement is. So you can use separation as a noun as well. For example, can we meet to discuss our separation? So the wife, Sophie, could say this to Justin. Hey, can we meet to talk about our separation? We need to discuss our separation. When are we going to announce our separation? So you can use this as the noun. And I'll put a question mark because technically this was a question. As always, we remain a close family. Close as an adjective is very useful for family, friends, coworkers to describe your relationship. So I could say, she's my close friend. Close friend. Listen to that pronunciation. Os. Close friend. For example, she's my close friend. Here, close, this means my friend and I have a very good relationship, a better relationship than perhaps my other friends. You could use this with even more casual relationships. You could say my coworker and I are close. So notice here, it's to be close. The verb to be conjugated. My coworker and I, this represents we as a subject. We are close. So perhaps we have coffee together every day. I talk to this person the most out of all my coworkers. As always, we remain a close family. So even though they have separated, which means they are now living separate lives, they remain close. They want to keep a good relationship. Close family with deep love and respect for each other. For the well-being of our children, we ask that you respect our privacy and their privacy. And I agree with this. This is why I said at the beginning, we're reviewing this article because of the very important vocabulary related to marriage, separation, divorce, which is a must-know in social and, as you can see, even more business conversations. So you respect one's privacy. So in this case, it's our privacy, meaning Justin Trudeau and his wife, and their privacy, meaning the children. So to respect one's privacy. So I'll put this here. To respect one's privacy. Mr. Trudeau said in a post on Instagram. Okay, so this, what I just read, this is what he said in a post on Instagram. So it sounds like they announced their separation. Notice there, it is the noun form. They announced their separation, and then he added this as a post on Instagram. Are you enjoying this lesson? Do you enjoy learning English in this very real, natural way? If so, then I know you'll love the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers on TV, the news, movies, and YouTube so you can improve your listening skills, fast English, and add all of this advanced and natural vocabulary to your speech to help you sound fluent and natural, just like a native English speaker. So you can look for the link in the description to learn more. Let's continue. Mr. Trudeau's wife and children have played a prominent role in his political career. So here the expression is to play a role in something. And then notice we have an adjective, a prominent role, an important role, for example. So let me highlight this for you. In his political career, the conjugation they use is the present perfect, have played a role, to suggest that they started playing a role in the past, a prominent role, and they still play a prominent role now. So let's take a look at another example with this. Expanding your vocabulary plays an important role in learning a language. So this is simply saying expanding your vocabulary is important. It plays an important role. So remember, this is your adjective, so you can use a different adjective, and you have to conjugate your verb play according to the sentence. In this case, this is a gerund sentence to make a general statement. And so as a subject, gerund sentences are conjugated as it. And that's why you see play with an S. It, this plays an important role. Do you agree with that? I'm sure you do. So if you agree with that, put this or whatever you think, maybe JForrest English lessons play an important role in helping you learn English. I should also note that you have the gerund here because in is a preposition, so you need a gerund. So here's a good example. Hopefully you agree with this. JForrest English, the YouTube channel, JForrest English plays an important role in helping me become fluent. So here you have your verb play conjugated with JForrest English, which represents it. And then important role, you could change this for a different adjective, essential role, perhaps, and then in, and then you have your ing in helping me become fluent. So if you agree with this, put that in the comments below and feel free to change the adjective as well. Let's continue. So they play a prominent role in his political career, often accompanying him on trips overseas after he was elected prime minister in 2015. When you accompany someone, it means you go with that person somewhere. It's a little more formal though. So if I want to invite my friend to a movie or the mall, sure, I could say, can you accompany me to the movies? But that sounds a little formal. I would say, do you want to come with me to the movies? So this makes sense in this context, but in a more everyday context, you can simply say, do you want to come with me to the movies? Let's continue. His young children have helped craft an image of Mr. Trudeau, now 51, as a youthful, vigorous leader. Let's talk about vigorous. This is a great adjective, vigorous, vigorous. This means energetic. So I gave you an example sentence here. I've been vigorously watching JForrest English lessons. So you watch this lesson very attentively. You're spending a lot of energy on it. And then as soon as it's done, you watch another lesson. So that could describe it as vigorous. But what do you notice between the example I gave and the example here? Well, here it's an adjective, but I gave you the adverb form, adverb. Adverbs generally end in ly, so they're easy to identify. And I did that because my example was with the verb watching. So grammatically, you need an adverb. So I'll just write that for you. Adverb. Maybe I'll write it below so it's easy to understand for you. And if you have been vigorously watching my lessons, JForrest English lessons, put that in the comments as well. That's a great adjective, or in this case, adverb to practice. Vigorous. I like that one. As a youthful, vigorous leader, his wife, 48, is a former television presenter and helped burnish his image further with a touch of glamour. Let's look at burnish. his image. Burnish is a verb. Remember it as this expression, burnish one's image or burnish one's reputation. And that simply means to improve. So you could have said, and helped improve his image, or help make his image more attractive, make his reputation more attractive. So generally we use this with public figures like Justin Trudeau or companies. So Coca-Cola needs to burnish their image. They need to improve their image, make it more attractive. So his wife, because she was a former television presenter and apparently quite glamorous, she helped burnish his image with a touch of glamour. I like this. A touch of. A touch of something is a small amount of something. Here's an everyday example you could use. This dish, whatever you're eating or making, this dish needs a touch of salt. A touch of salt, a small amount of salt, a touch of salt. Or she put on a touch of perfume before her date. So a small amount of perfume. She didn't want it to be too noticeable, just a touch of perfume. I'll read this part again now. His wife, 48, is a former television presenter and helped burnish his image further with a touch of glamour, a small amount of glamour. The Prime Minister's office said that the couple are focused on raising their kids in a safe, loving, and collaborative environment. It added that they will be a constant presence in their children's lives. Notice how it said it added, because what's the subject here? The subject is the Prime Minister's office. And although this was actually a person saying this, because they didn't say Joe from the Prime Minister's office, if they said Joe or Joseline from the Prime Minister's office, then it would be he or she added. But because they're talking about the office, it's conjugated as it. It added, the office added, that they will be a constant presence in their children's lives and that the family plan to vacation together next week. So this is an example of how the family plans to remain, what's that adjective? Close. So example of how the family plans to remain close. They're going to still go on vacations together. Let's continue. The couple met in Montreal in 2002. So completed past action. So that's why we have the past simple here. And were married 3 years later. Notice how we have were married. That's because the expression is to be married, to be married. So you take your verb to be and then you conjugate that. In this case, it is in the past simple. And were married 3 years later. After Mr. Trudeau, who had spent years teaching in Vancouver, returned to Montreal. So notice the past perfect here, had spent, because on our timeline of past actions, we have the couple met in 2002, they got married, and then he spent years teaching. So those are all past actions, but we use the past perfect to show the older action of these actions. So he had spent years teaching before he returned to Montreal and before they got married. Now, notice how I've also been saying get married to get married, because we use get married to talk about your transition from not married to married. So, for example, you could say, we got married in 2014. We're getting married next year. We just got married. Okay, so this is talking about the transition from not married to married, and that is to get married. I'll move that here. Now, to be married, this is used in we are now married. We are married. So someone might ask you, oh, are you just dating your husband? Are you boyfriend, girlfriend? And you can say, no, we're married. We're married. He's my husband. She's my wife. We're married. We've been married for 10 years. Okay? To be married, and this is just in the present perfect because it started in the past and it continues until now. We've been married for 10 years. We are married. So be married, your current state. Get married is the transition from not married to married. Nelson Wiseman, a professor of political science at the University of Toronto, said that while Miss Gregoire Trudeau prominently accompanied her husband at public events, after he became prime minister, her appearances had more recently decreased notably. Okay, here, so we're using the verb to accompany, but remember before it was in the gerund form, accompanying him, often going with him. And here it's just in the past simple, but the verb is to accompany someone. You accompany someone, which means you go with someone to a specific event or location. So his wife, Miss Gregoire Trudeau, prominently accompanied her husband at public events after he became prime minister. So by saying prominently, it means she was a very visible figure. So she was always there by his side, wearing these beautiful, glamorous clothes, I imagine. She was very prominent. Her appearances had more recently decreased notably. When you say notably, it means that it's now obvious to the public. Before, she was always there in pictures, but now when you see pictures, you notice like, hey, where's his wife? I don't see Sophie. I don't see Mrs. Trudeau. So that's notably. For example, you could say she was, in a workplace context, she was notably late. So when you're notably late, it means everyone knows you were late. It was obvious. So if you're just 1 minute or 2 minutes late, that's not very obvious. But if you show up an hour late or 45 minutes late, that's pretty obvious. She was notably late. Even though the role of family man was an integral part of Mr. Trudeau's carefully crafted image, Mr. Wiseman, that was the professor of political science, Mr. Wiseman, said he foresaw no political fallout from the separation. So here, separation is being used as a noun, as a noun. If you wanted to use it as a verb, you would say from their decision to separate. That would be how you could use it from the verb form, but here from the separation. And you could say their separation as well. The separation, or you could say it's possessive and it belongs to them. Their separation. Here, foresaw. So this is the verb see conjugated in the past. So see, saw. But when you foresee something, it means you anticipate it. You see it in advance. So because this just happened, we don't actually know if there'll be a political fallout. A political fallout is when his reputation is damaged. So a negative impact from the decision, from their separation. There was a negative impact. And how could there be a negative impact? His popularity goes down. His ratings go down. His public image goes down. So political fallout, negative impact. Yeah, that's how I'll say it. Negative impact, political fallout. It doesn't just have to be a political fallout. A company could experience a fallout if they released a product that was defective. So that could negatively impact their image or reputation. Okay, so to foresee is when you see it in advance, you predict it, you anticipate it. But this just happened. So right now it's a little premature. It's too soon to say if there will be a fallout or not. So that's why he's using the verb foresee, but conjugation, he already said this. So that's why it's in the past simple, foresaw, but the verb is to foresee. So time will tell if there will be a political fallout from their separation, from their decision to separate. And that's the end of the article. So what I'll do now is I'll go to the beginning and I'll read the article from start to finish. And this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Justin Trudeau separates from wife Sophie Gregoire. The Trudeaus, who have been married for 18 years and who have 3 children, have signed a legal separation agreement. As always, we remain a close family with deep love and respect for each other. For the well-being of our children, we ask that you respect our privacy and their privacy, Mr. Trudeau said in a post on Instagram. Mr. Trudeau's wife and children have played a prominent role in his political career, often accompanying him on trips overseas after he was elected Prime Minister in 2015. His young children have helped craft an image of Mr. Trudeau, now 51, as a youthful, vigorous leader. His wife, 48, is a former television presenter and helped burnish his image further with a touch of glamour. The Prime Minister's office said that the couple are focused on raising their kids in a safe, loving, and collaborative environment. It added that they will be a constant presence in their children's lives and that the family plan to vacation together next week. The couple met in Montreal in 2002 and were married 3 years later, after Mr. Trudeau, who had spent years teaching in Vancouver, returned to Montreal. Nelson Wiseman, a professor of political science at the University of Toronto, said that while Miss Gregoire Trudeau prominently accompanied her husband at public events after he became prime minister, her appearances had more recently decreased notably. Even though the role of family man was an integral part of Mr. Trudeau's carefully crafted image, Mr. Wiseman said he foresaw no political fallout from the separation.
Did you like this lesson? If so, then make sure you subscribe because I post lessons like this every single week. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And why don't you get started with your next lesson right now?